7 things I hate about the Lexus CT. Firstly, there's a lack of rear seat amenities. There's no rear seat cup holders, there's no rear seat air vents for your face, there's no map lights, and there's also no folding armrest, and that's something that I think every basic entry-level luxury car should have. The second thing is the seats. The seats are pretty comfortable, they're not amazing, but they're probably what you expect for this kind of car. But the problem I have is, first of all, it comes standard with manual seats, not electric. You can get electric, you can get, this car has actually got an electric driver's seat, but a manual passenger seat, which is really weird and really cheap. But I think this is the very first Lexus car that has that comes standard with no electric seats. It should have electric seats. Secondly, there's only heated seats. You can't get cooled seats. And the controls for the heated seats are these little fimbly little nipple looking things, and they don't feel very nice, they just feel like very cheap knobs. The next thing is the ride comfort and how firm it is. Now, when this car was designed, it was supposed to be this young, trendy car that was lower to the ground, it had a lower center of gravity, good handling. But in reality, for most people, this is actually a commuter car, right? It's an A to B efficient hybrid car. You're not taking it to the track, you're not going around corners at crazy speeds, it's not a very fast car at all, and so for that reason, most people just want a smooth ride, and I think it's far too firm for an entry-level luxury car. Now, there are some people who do like a firmer ride, and those people should be able to buy the F-Sport version, which comes with an even stiffer suspension. But that's probably, I would say, the minority. I would say most people want a smoother, softer ride. Most basic cars, the Corolla, probably the Honda Fit, all those cars, I would say are smoother in their ride comfort than this car. The next thing is the infotainment, and I know that Lexus was never known for having good infotainment, and I'm not going to criticize the general things that most journalists criticize, but I'm going to criticize certain things about the CT's infotainment. And the first thing is the graphics. It looks absolutely hideous, and if you look at the third generation IS, it came out in 2012, the same, or 2013, and the fourth gen GS came out in 2012, and this car came out in 2012, and those two other cars have much nicer, newer graphics, nice bluer colors and all that. And you look at the infotainment in this car, and it's like this old Windows 98 looking stuff. The font is awful, it's got this really weird textured kind of pattern, and it really dates the car. Now, they did fix this in later years, they did get a better infotainment refresh, but certainly in the earlier years it looked pretty crap. And also the functionality is not that great as well. In my IS and my GS, I can multitask and have different things on the screen. I can look at my navigation and my music at the same time. In this car, you can't do any of that. It's either the music or it's either the navigation, and it's just a very basic, limited infotainment, and it could be way better. There are some annoying things as well with the infotainment, where when you're browsing your music, when your phone's plugged in, you can't browse different songs and playlists without it automatically playing the song that you've selected. So as you're scrolling through your music, it's going to just start randomly playing the songs that you're hovering over, and it's a real pain. Sometimes you want to just keep playing the same song, but just browse the music, but unfortunately in this car it will start playing that. Again, if you look at the IS, for example, the IS and the GS, you can browse music while the current song continues to play. I don't know, it's a very simple software issue. Another really weird thing is that when you change the volume in this car, the little volume like menu thing that pops down has got vol underscore and then the number of the volume which you've selected. And it's like, why is there an underscore? Like, this is not Microsoft DOS. We're not character limited. There's a whole space in the top of the screen to fit the word volume space, the number in there. But for some weird reason, that it's condensed to vol underscore. It seems like a glitch or a bug that was never caught, and it made it all the way to production. And I'm sure it was fixed in the facelift models, but certainly in the pre-facelift, it's a really weird thing that they've got in the infotainment screen. The next thing is the gauge cluster. Similar to the infotainment, the gauge cluster in this was really simple. It does have a really cool LED ambient lit gauge cluster that changes color depending on which mode you're driving in, but the multi-function display is one of the dumb ones that only shows you, your trip meters, your economy, your temperature, average fuel economy, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a really dumb, simple gauge cluster. While in the same year, the IS came out, the new IS came out, and it had a color smarter display that lets you browse your music, it lets you look at navigation. There's way more settings which you can do, and it really makes this car feel a lot cheaper. So I don't know why they couldn't have just taken the same gauge cluster technology in the IS and plonked it into the CT. The next thing is the design of the lights. Now, the pre-facelift halogen headlights had LED daytime running lights. They all came with DRLs, but the halogen ones, for some weird reason, they had a gap for the headlight, and then a couple of LEDs on the end. And when you look at that from a distance, it looks like it's broken. It looks like there's two LEDs that have stopped working. And just by design, it just looks like cheap and crappy. I also wish that they made the DRLs the proper Lexus kind of tick Nike looking DRLs, whereas these ones are very simple plain ones that look just like the ones that come on a Toyota Hilux. Now, if you look at the tail lights, another weird thing is that when you look at the design of the tail lights, it looks like the park lights should light up on the outer lights and the inner lights. But no, it doesn't. It's just the outer lights. So they're just these small little red park lights that come on, and you'd think that it would look more elegant if the lights went all the way through from the outer lights to the inner lights. And lastly, with the lights, there's only one reverse light. Now, I know that's quite a common thing for many cheaper cars. They only have one reverse light on one side. Like, if you're going to have one, put it in the middle or something. But it looks broken. I've had people telling me, hey, your reverse light's not working. And I have to say, sorry, they couldn't afford to put another reverse light in this car, so I only had one reverse light. It looks really cheap and weird. It doesn't cost much money to put in another reverse light. Now, my last and final complaint is a pretty minor one, and it's not too bad, is the switchgear in this car is not the greatest. Now, I can kind of accept that because it is an entry-level luxury car. So, the HVAC controls feel okay, the radio controls feel pretty crap and cheap, but my biggest gripe out of all the switchgear is the indicator stalks. They are like the cheapest indicator stalks. They're straight out of the Toyota parts bin, and when you compare it to every other Lexus car, they have much nicer feeling and sounding ones. When you click the indicator stalk, it's very... Oh. Listen to that. Can you... What is this? Sounds like crap. So again, just you really notice it when you go from other Lexus models to the CT, just how they've sort of cut costs here and there. And one last thing I'm going to quickly slip in as well is the headliner. The headliner is this very rough kind of fabric, and every other Lexus car, I think maybe bar the HS, has soft micro suede material, which feels really nice. So now some people are going to complain that the CT is quite slow. They're going to complain that the eCVT transmission doesn't sound great, but I don't really think it's fair to criticize the CT about those things, because it is supposed to be a hybrid economical car, and hybrid drivetrains have to use that eCVT technology to be able to seamlessly change between the electric motors and the gasoline engine. So I am not going to criticize the car on those sorts of things. It's like complaining that a compact car is small. Well, that's the kind of car you're buying. So the things that I'm criticizing this car on are things that I think I would expect a entry-level luxury car to have. And I know it's not an IS, I know it's not a GS, but there are just some things that other cars, other more basic cars or competitor cars do better than Lexus in. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I mean, overall, it's a great car. This video is just pointing out the things that I don't like. There'll be a video coming soon of the things that I really love about this car, and there's a lot of things that we love about this car. And overall, again, it does the job really well, but there are just some things that Lexus sort of cut corners on, and to be honest, most of these things were fixed in the later model years, but they are still really annoying things. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. Please, again, if you can, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Put some things in the comments below, things that you found that you agree with or disagree with, and stay tuned for more Lexus content.